Hello and welcome to the Stress Mastery Podcast. I am your host, Peggy Romero. I thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that my words will help you understand the comfort zone a little bit better. Finally, it's Saturday, and I'm happy to be back after a 2-week break. This week's Thanksgiving, and here on the podcast, we've been talking about the comfort zone. And this has given me a lot to think about. First, I want to say I'm thankful for my growth. I'm thankful for the guts that I've had to step out of my own comfort zone in the ways that I have. And I'm thankful for my ability to grow and expand my comfort zone in a multitude of ways and a multitude of times. So remember, we all have a programmed identity. And this is who we were raised to be. This is who they told us to be. This is who we thought we were. So this is the life in the cage. This is the comfort zone, and it's protected by the ego with fear. We all have fear of the unknown. Yeah, it's crazy. It's that voice in your head that's relentless, that inner critic, the voice that just won't shut up. You know the one. It's not even you. It's that voice that is constantly trying to convince you that you can't do it. The one that says that you shouldn't step out. Stay the way you are. It's always telling you all the reasons why you can't do it, why you can't do whatever it is that you would actually love to do. Reminding you, oh, remember what happened that you tried that last time? Or what are they going to say about me if I do this? Or what about that? But you know what? You'll never know what will happen if you don't make that bet on yourself. If you stay put, if you stay stuck in your comfort zone and don't step out, then nothing will change. And that's for sure. But it's also not a good place to be. Some will say you always get to decide what will happen, that you're the author of the next chapter of your life. But if you don't believe in yourself, you're just stuck. One thing I know for sure, if you think that you can't, then you automatically can't because you're not even going to try. But I actually believe you can. In fact, I know that you can do whatever you set your mind to. So Bill Courtwright always says, you can't fail if you don't quit. His definition of failure is quitting. I think that's what he says. I know he says you can't fail if you don't quit. But also Colossians in the New Testament, Colossians 3:2 says, set your mind and keep it set on the things above and not on the things of the earth. So to me, that means believe in you. Set your target and go for it. Don't let that voice in your head, the ego, the comfort zone, hold you back. Those are earthly things. Connect to the desires of your heart, the things above. So set your mind and keep it set on the higher things. Keep your focus on the higher things. Decide to live in the higher energies, courage, hope, love, and peace. It feels wonderful there, especially if you can learn to hold those states. And you can, and you'll want to, because that's when you feel the connection to God. And that's what will give you confidence in your life. So in my book, Finally, Becoming Who You Were Always Meant to Be, I tell how I came from a life of lack and programs of restrictions, and how I kicked and screamed and fought my way out of the cage that I was raised in. Step by step, I've made my way out of the comfort zone in many aspects of my life. We're all hardwired for behavior, and this behavior is dictated by what we hold in mind. We have our programmed identity. That's held in our mind. And you really need to be determined to change because it isn't easy, and it takes planning and effort. It takes desire and willingness and courage. I always say that I accidentally, on purpose, self-authored my own life. Who I am today is completely different than the identity that was set for me. I was raised to be a submissive housewife, living with just enough money to get by and just be content. Man, I wish I had $1 for every time my mom said, Peg, why can't you just be content? Why do you have to work so hard? Don't you think you have enough? You know, I drove my parents crazy all the while I'm going against them. But I tell you, they helped me all the time, even though they didn't agree with what I'm doing. And I will always be grateful for that. I'll tell you, I wasn't ever meant to be an author, a speaker, a coach. I wasn't raised to have enough courage and confidence to do this podcast or to write a book. Those were not things that were ingrained in me. I was never raised to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, but I walked out of the cage and through all that resistance and fear, and I made it to the other side. I'm constantly growing and changing. So I'm no longer that person that I was raised to be. And that just isn't me anymore. So we all self-author parts of our lives. So I know that you've grown too. Remember, there are 5 life categories: career, finance, relationship, health, and personal development. So it's important that we work on all of them, because otherwise the ones that you haven't developed, that you haven't self-authored, are going to keep pulling you back down because you haven't still become your true self. But fear not. If you think about it, you can gain some courage and confidence just by looking back at your life, because I know you've come a long way. We've all self-authored parts of our identity. And remember, if you look at your life and you don't like what you see today, it's never too late to start working on yourself. Your tomorrow can be better than today if you're willing to do some work. It's true for every single one of us. If you're breathing, you can choose. And we have an assessment in the Stress Mastery community, so check it out and see if you can figure that out and what you need help with, and then just get on it. Like, we're all setting goals now, so it's not too late. Just make it a priority. So I have a new friend here in Arizona, and she's been struggling because her husband died a few years ago. He was her best friend. They raised their children together. They ran a business together for decades. They shared their whole life together. They came here to Arizona together every year, snowbirds, getting out of the cold in Canada. Well, her comfort zone was that life, the one that she shared with him. I'm not sure how long they've been married, but probably at least 50 years, their whole adult life, basically. She was totally happy and comfortable with him, a match made in heaven. So they had sold their business and decided to retire, and they had just either built or bought a new home, and they hadn't even moved into it yet when he passed away. So she had to move there alone. I mean, what a shock to the system. They had a farm still, and she decided to sell the farm that she loved, and she's had to make new friends and fill the void, as if that's possible. I can tell you firsthand, when you're a couple, you hang out more with couples. As a single woman, you'll need to find some new friends. Couples hang with couples. It's just the way it is. And I know that they don't mean to be hurtful by it, but it does hurt. She's going to need to find a new tribe. She's working on making a whole new life for herself. No longer part of us. It's a big adjustment. So, not to mention the loneliness that comes from losing your partner. She's had to find a way to make herself comfortable all by herself. And it takes time. And it takes trial and error. She has to find a way. And I think that this transition may be harder for her because they spent most of their time together for decades, and she was so content with it. She loved it. So it hurts bad. But she's strong, and she's learning how to do it. She's made it through the fear and the pain to get to the other side in some ways. Her comfort zone is completely shattered, so she's obviously had no choice. Honestly, she does have a choice. We all do. It's hard for her, but I don't see her giving up. Actually, I think the only other choice would be for her to live the rest of her life feeling lonely, defeated, and, just abandoned. And I just don't see that happening to her. I recently met her because she's friends with my good friend Vicky. So we all live in this little community. And Vicky is her best friend here. And Vicky and her husband Jim have helped her through this pain. So they've been here with her through the transition. They've supported her and been her company and her comfort. Well, recently, Jim and Vicky decided that they're going to sell their place here and do more world traveling. That's great for me because Vicky already found a place in Portugal that she may rent next month or next year for 4 months. And she invited me to come and stay for a little while. Of course, I'll miss her being here, but I love to travel, so that sounds great to me. Not so for our mutual friend. This has really rattled her cage. Jim and Vicky have been here for her. They have coffee together in the morning. They play cards together. They spend holidays together and have dinners together. They've become a big part of her new tribe. Now they are part of the new comfort zone. So remember, any time that something happens that doesn't fit into our perception of what should be happening, we end up getting shaken up. If it's not part of what we believe should happen, we get rattled. It's conflict, and it sets off the alarm system just like that. Immediately, her ego takes over and tells her how bad things will be here if Vicky leaves. How can I be here without her? What will I do? Who's going to help me with all the man stuff if Jim isn't here? I can't be here without them. I'll be lonely. And there's that voice again. It's the ego, and it's all fear-driven. So she decides, I'm going to have to sell my house too. But here's the thing. She has so much to do here. We have hundreds of activities going on here every day. I kid you not. I don't even know how many we have. Sorry for my stutter. There's just so many things going on that you could actually be busy every minute of every day if you wanted to be. In fact, I have to decide which things I'm going to participate in because there aren't enough hours in the day. Well, she doesn't work anymore, so there's plenty for her to fill her days with, people and friends. She loves line dancing and going to the dances. She enjoys playing cards and games. All of this stuff's available here. She loves to sit in the sun. She has a beautiful deck and a comfortable chair. I see her relaxing and reading when I walk by a lot. It's sunny here almost every day. She does massages for people because she enjoys doing it. She rides her bike and goes for walks. She has a whole life here and lots of friends. But her ego quickly convinced her that life would be better at home, confined in the snow and the bitter cold where she lives in Canada, just because Vicky was moving. So she believed that she needed Vicky's support and that there was no life here without her. Instead of being here and finding a new tribe, she decided to sell and go home. Comfort zone, conflict, pain, fear. That's all she could feel. And it's all fear of the unknown. And of course, it's scary. So our comfort zone always wants to keep us stuck. It's the ego holding us in there. So she'll have to make her way through that if she's going to get the life that she desires. So she can learn to make good friends, new ones. Of course she can. She's fun. She's beautiful and delightful. Is it uncomfortable? Of course it is. Does it hurt? Of course it does. She had her husband's friendship and support all those years. I never knew them together, but it seems like they were all each other needed. Kind of reminds me of Bill and Linda. I think it's different when you don't have to do something. Like she didn't need to make a bunch of friends before. She just made them naturally. She didn't need them because she had him. She didn't need to worry about maintaining her place because she had him. That fast rolling story that we listen to, it scares us. It's like a freaking roller coaster. Guys, I'm here to tell you that you need to have enough awareness to notice the speed. People tell me sometimes things like, I can't sleep because I have all these thoughts whirling around in my head. Or, that happened so fast I couldn't even think, my head was spinning. And you're right, whirling, spinning, it's too fast, and it's a trick of the ego. Awareness, slowing down, it's always the answer. Because if you can notice it, you can do something about it. And it can be so simple. I'm not saying that it's easy at first, but you can practice. Just slow down. Just take a breath. Connect your vagus nerve. This is real. This is science. Just try it. It's nothing new. Think about it. You've heard it before. Doctors and psychologists tell you, breathe. When you're out of control and like in labor having a baby, the coach tells you, breathe. Sorry, I have to cough. That's because it works. If you can relax into it and just slow down just for a second, you'll feel better. Just like that. Notice. Now you can take conscious mind control back from your ego. And now you can begin to work on the resolution for the conflict that you're having. Rationally and not at warp speed. Remember, that's the ego. That's not God. Slow down. Sit with it. Pray about it. And you need to be relaxed in order to do this, you guys. It's not the sitting. It's not the praying. It's the stillness and the connection. So this is a fast-moving world that we live in, and we're going to have conflicts every single day. Big conflicts and little conflicts. Disagreements, problems at work, with family. But a conflict can also just be a dirty look or being left out of something. And it happens all day, every day, and it's never going to stop. So we all have to learn how to deal with it. Of course, things are different for you than they are for me. But the way we respond is react or respond is all the same. If we can accept this, then you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You can learn to slow down. Learn to let go. We have a great let go technique that's also in the Stress Mastery website. It will change your life. And speaking of changing your life, it's time to get your goals done for next year. We need to start on the 2023 with a little bit of momentum going. So we got to get our goals done now so that we set our course and we're moving already when New Year's comes. So here's the funny thing about it. Just setting your goals rattles the cage, if you're doing it correctly anyways. Because if you're going to be making goals that are, worthwhile, then you're going to have to step into it. To step into it, you must be able to get out of the comfort zone cage. The goal isn't in the cage with you, it's outside. The desires of your heart are outside of the comfort zone, and you have to get out in order to realize that goal. So just putting them down on paper in the first place is hard. I can't tell you how many times I've dumbed down my dreams. They seemed so unattainable to me that I just pretended that they didn't even exist. I didn't even dare to imagine them, like in full living color. They were there, I just didn't accept it. Of course, now I know that was my ego. My ego, I call her Lucy. I like having my ego named because just having a name for her helps me be more aware of when she's talking. I got you, Lucy. I hear you. I see what you're telling me. You're telling me again what I can't do. So she wants me to stay the same. She wants to protect me from the hurt and pain. She wants to keep me in the cage. But I'd have to stay in the cage to stay the same, and I've just never wanted to do that. And I have to admit that my cage, it's actually not that comfortable in the first place. And I bet that's true for you too. I mean, why would you want to stay there? Be like my new friend. Don't give up on yourself. She just told me yesterday that at this point, she's decided not to sell after all. And I'm so happy for her. She's resolving her conflict in time and contemplation instead of fear. So she may still decide to sell. I don't know. But now she has the awareness and the ability to make the right decision for herself. And I say, bravo. Well, that's it for today's podcast. I hope this will help you understand the comfort zone a little bit better. And if you've not listened to this week's podcast, go back and listen because they're really good. I know that I've thrown a lot at you guys today, and remember that you can reach out to me for any of the tools that we've talked about or clarification on anything at PeggyRomero.com. And you can also find all of these resources in the Stress Mastery website, and the link for the website is below. And that is it for today's podcast. Remember, our mission here is to create a shift in the planet, and you can join us on that mission by simply like, share, and subscribe. The links are right below the show notes. Sorry about my throat today. It's no better today than it was yesterday, so I just had to record the podcast. As always, until next time, stay inspired, guys.